What do you think was missing from our episode?
I think it was lacking the depth, because obviously this conversation runs deep. And so when I say depth, I mean, it's one thing to understand your pain. But for me, when I really uncovered emotional healing, there's 3 stages to it. And I feel like this kind of covered stage 1, which is stage 1 is really unpacking the wounds, bringing it to the surface, attaching your pain and your insecurities and all of that to what happened to you in your childhood and your upbringing. But that's just stage 1. Stage 2 is really about, now how do I reframe that? And for me, that's saying, okay, the villain in my story from stage 1, I need to now rewrite their story so that I'm no longer just holding on to the resentment and the pain that I have, but I need to be able to understand their perspective, not to justify the pain that happened to you, not to excuse it in any way, shape, or form, but to allow you a level of compassion to say, this wasn't about me. This was about them and their character and what they've gone through and how they've grown up that deflected that onto me, and it's not me. So that's stage 2. There was no conversation around that, let alone stage 3.
About how to repair.
About how to repair, how to understand that they didn't mean to necessarily hurt me. By the way, there's of course some terrible people in the world that don't have that intention, but there was no repair.
Actually, I think that that's a whole completely different conversation and show.
You're right.
I think for myself, and I think for the producers who brought the idea to me in the first place, actually, the idea came because I have a friend who was going through it, who called me up one day and said, do you know about this no contact thing? Then I mentioned it to a producer, and then we started this whole thing, and they said, oh yeah, a lot of people are going through this. So I think our initial intention, because we always talk about what is our intention before we do anything, was to make people aware that this was happening in the world. Now, I know you live in a world where you're very social and you know this, but there are a lot of people who didn't know this was even happening, including my best friend Gail, who's like, I didn't even know people could do this.